Hi scholars, welcome to your Module 1 video lesson for Email Basics. Email Basics, how to make your voice heard when communicating via email. So welcome to your first video lecture. By the end of this video lecture, you'll have accomplished these learning goals. You'll be able to appropriately format an email using Microsoft Outlook. You'll be able to apply consistent writing structures, a greeting, a body, and ending, to clearly convey your message. You'll be able to identify appropriate tone in an email, and you'll be able to understand best practices for using email to communicate. So our first section, how to format your email. So this is to make sure that your email makes a great first impression. The way that you start a new email in Outlook, you'll go ahead and open the Outlook app on your iPads. This is what will come up. The button that you'll hit to write a new email is this one right here, the little box with a pen in it. And when you hit that, this will come up. So there's a few things you have to fill in before you actually start writing the body of your email. First, in the to line, you're going to put the email address of the person you're sending the email to. If you're sending it to somebody within EUHSD, another student, a teacher, admin, if you just type their name in, it will automatically find their email address for you. Next, the CC BCC line. So what CC and BCC mean is carbon copy or blind carbon copy. This is a line where you would put the email address of somebody you want to loop in on this email, somebody you want to have this information to see it, but you don't necessarily need a response from. And then finally, in the subject line, you're going to write a concise subject line that lets the recipient know what your email is about. And then in this big blank space, that's where you actually type the email. So let's talk a little bit about subject lines. Some do's, things that you want to do and make sure that you're doing pretty consistently on a regular basis when you're writing emails. Short, think of it as a title for your email. Please don't write your whole email in the subject line. Make it descriptive. Be very clear what the email is about. And use a neutral tone, not alarming, attacking, frantic, just a straight, nice neutral tone, letting them know what the email is going to be about. Some things to avoid doing. You always want to include a subject line, so don't leave those subject lines blank. Don't make it too long. Try to keep it between 5 to 7 words. And don't be too vague. Say, for instance, you're emailing somebody about an internship. Don't just say internship. Say Palomar Pathmaker internship, whatever the name of the internship is. So being descriptive enough that they know what it's about, but without being overly descriptive where you're writing your whole email in the subject line. So let's play a quick game called Which Subject Line? You want to email your teacher to ask about the grade you earned on Project 1. Do you use the subject line, recent grade on Project 1, you messed up my Project 1 grade, or Project 1? Go ahead and put your answer in now. Okay, hopefully you picked A, which is recent grade on Project 1. You wouldn't use B because that's a little attacking, a little hostile. You might get somebody's backup before they even have a chance to see what you're writing about. And C is not descriptive enough. I may be wondering, do you have a question how to do Project 1? Do you have a question when it's due? Do you have a question about when it will be graded? It's so vague, I don't really know where you're going with it. And then A is the correct answer because you're letting me know you want to discuss your recent grade on Project 1. Okay, next one. You're not understanding the most recent science lesson about genetics. You want to email your science teacher to ask a question. Do you title your email, Urgent, I am confused, Help, or Clarification Needed, Genetics Unit? Go ahead and put your answer in now. Okay, hopefully you picked C, Clarification Needed, Genetics Unit. B is alarming. If we see an email with the subject line help, we're going to assume that you're in some pretty serious trouble or a bad situation. It's very scary as a teacher to get an email that's titled help. Please don't use that unless you are literally in danger and need our assistance. A, urgent, I am confused. I am now confused as to what you want me to help you with. So that one is a little bit too vague. C is perfect. You're letting me know that your email is going to be about questions you have specifically on the genetics unit. Okay, next one. You feel like you're falling behind in all your classes and don't know where to start to catch up. You want to email Ms. Dobbs or Mr. Ramirez to see if they can meet with you to help you make a plan to be more successful at school. Do you use the subject line A, I'm failing all my classes, B, I need help figuring out how to manage my classes, or C, meeting request, academic struggles? Go ahead and put your answer in now. Okay, Hopefully you picked C, meeting request, academic struggles. A is a little bit, it's brief and descriptive, but it doesn't necessarily tell them how you're hoping that you can get help from them. B is a really great sentence to put in the actual email. You're letting them know that you need help figuring out how to manage your classes and you're hoping they can do that. But again, that's more something you put in the body rather than in the subject line. C is perfect. You're letting them know that you'd like to set up a time to meet and that the subject of this meeting would be the challenges you're having in keeping up with your classes. Okay, last one. You're interested in the Pathmaker internship at Palomar Health and want to ask a question about the application requirements before submitting your application. Do you use the subject line A? I have a question about the Pathmaker internship requirement. I want to see if I would be eligible for it. B, Pathmaker internship requirement question. Or C, Palomar Health internship. Go ahead and enter your answer now. Okay, hopefully you picked B. C is just a little bit too vague. Palomar Health, being a large organization, offers a lot of internships for postgraduates, people in college, people in high school, people in middle school, I think even. So that one's just a little bit too vague. A is a little too long. Again, those questions would be better, or those statements would be better suited for the actual body of the email. B is perfect. You're letting them know specifically which internship you have questions about and that your questions are going to be about the application requirements. Okay, great job. Let's go ahead and move on. So our next section is structuring your message. And this is where we're going to learn to use consistent structures to convey our message. A good email has 3 elements. You have the greeting, the body, and the ending. A greeting, it's short and friendly. You address the recipient by name. The body is where you get right to the main point, you mention any attachments, and you give them a clear call to action. You let them know specifically what you need them to do for you. And then finally, your ending. It's short and friendly, and it includes your name and your contact information. So let's talk more in depth about what each of these parts looks like. Let's start at the beginning with the greeting. So they're short and friendly. You want to address them by name if you have it. For a more formal greeting, you would use Mr. Ms. last name. For a more casual greeting, you can use the recipient's first name. And if you're sending an email to multiple recipients, you can use a more generic greeting that doesn't use names. So you might be wondering what that looks like. Here's some examples for you. So you might say, "Good morning, Miss Gronke." "Dear Mr. Barajas." "Hey, Brianna." That would be a more casual one between friends. "Hello, all," a way of addressing a group. "Good afternoon, everyone," another way of addressing the group. It's a little bit more formal. And then finally, "To whom it may concern." That's a really great one to use if you don't know who you're actually emailing. Maybe you're emailing like more of a general information email address that doesn't have somebody's name attached to it. Okay, let's talk about the body. This is the part that can be a little bit more complicated because it's the actual meat of your email. So you want to start with your main point. Don't kind of meander towards it. Just be real clear right up front. This is what this email is about. Stay focused on the topic. Provide whatever information they might need. Remember, email is meant to be a little bit of a quicker way of communication. There are times that call for a lengthy, very in-depth email, but the majority of email communication you're going to be doing is pretty straightforward, quick back and forth, focused on one topic. If you've attached a file, you can mention it. And if you need a response or an action, you let the recipient know what that is. So let's look at some examples. Let's start with a good example. "I am emailing you to ask for some clarification about the most recent genetics unit. I am still unclear about how Punnett squares work. Would you have some time this week to review this concept with me?" So they start by straight out saying, "This is what I need from you. This is what I'm struggling with." So the teacher knows, okay, Punnett squares, I can pull some extra resources, I can pull some videos, things to help you understand that. And then you give the call to action. Would you have some time this week? And that lets the teacher know that you want to schedule a tutorial. Let's look at like maybe not a great example of how to ask a teacher for some help. "I don't get genetics. You didn't teach it good enough, so you need to help me." So genetics is a very large concept, right? And there's a lot to understand, and you could very much be confused on all of it. But the likelihood of your teacher being able to reteach you the entire concept of genetics is very challenging for both us as teachers and for you as students. The good email is very specific. "I need help with Punnett squares," which is a part of genetics. And that's something that we could actually fix in a tutorial. So being specific in what you need help with is always really good. You didn't teach it good enough, so you need to help me. It's a little aggressive. um, so you might very well feel that we didn't teach something well enough, and we very well could have taught it in a way that just didn't make sense to you, or didn't go in depth in a way that clicked. So it's totally valid to feel that way. But in an email, you want to be a little bit more diplomatic, and you want to say something like the first one, that I'm still unclear about this. In your mind, you might be like, because you didn't teach it well, but just leave that part out of the email. So, and then you say, so you need to help me. That is putting it on the person you're emailing to be like, okay, well, did you want to meet? And then you have to say yes. And then they say, okay, now what time? Whereas with the first email, it's very clear that the teacher, that you want to meet. So, and you said this week, so the teacher can say, I'm free Wednesday, let's meet then. You're just saving yourself time with a good email right up front. You're avoiding that back and forth of trying to figure out what you and the other person mean. Okay, let's move on to the ending. This part's pretty straightforward and simple. Keep it short and sweet. Include a thank you. Make sure that your email is signed with, at minimum, your name. And you can set up an automatic email signature in Outlook. If you visit our Village homepage, there's a tutorial to help you do this, to go ahead and set that up. For you as a 9th grader at Del Lago, you'll just go ahead and put your name and then 9th grade Del Lago Academy Scholar. Some examples of great endings. You always want to say just like a pleasant thank you. I appreciate your help with this issue is a little bit way more formal way. Thank you for considering my application if you're applying for a job or an internship. Oops. Okay, so moving on to our next game. I know you guys are probably loving these so far. It's time to play What's Wrong with This Email? So the first one is an email to a potential internship. You're sending it to Jane Smith at whatever company you're trying to get an internship with. You've used the subject line internship, and you've written, hey, I'm interested in the internship. I think I'd be a good fit for this. Sabrina, that's my name. Go ahead now and type in the open answer box, what could be better about this email? How might you rewrite this that it is a more suited email for this purpose? Go ahead and do that now. Okay, let's try one more. Asking for help from a teacher. Help is your subject line. You said, hey, Mr. Gravenkamp, I'm really confused. Can you help me? Go ahead and put in the side box over there, what's not so great about this email? Go ahead and do that now. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about what's not great in either of these. So looking at the one with the potential internship, it's a little too casual. You don't know Jane Smith. You're trying to impress her so that you can get this internship. The subject line is very vague. Internship. Like I said, a lot of organizations offer lots of internships. They might have them in different departments or call them different things, but the more specific you can be, the better. So this one would probably be better if you started with, Dear Miss Smith, I'm very interested in the internship your company offers in the accounting department. I believe I would be a great fit for this and benefit your organization. Please advise what the application procedure is. Thank you very much for your consideration. Sincerely, Sabrina Cream. So you just kind of make it a little bit more formal. This is kind of like what you would send to your friend. It's a little too casual. So let's talk about the email to Mr. Gravenkamp. So you started with help, right? So when we see that, we are going to assume you're in grave bodily danger. Hopefully that won't be the case. But remember, help is a very alarming email to get. So try to avoid that unless you literally are in immediate danger or need immediate assistance. So again, you start with, hey, it's a little too casual. So you'd say, you can even just say Mr. Gravenkamp, comma. You can just cut that hey right out of there. I'm really confused is a perfectly fine thing to put in an email, but say something like, I'm really confused about our most recent CPR demonstration, period. Please don't use you, like the letter U, in your scholarly emails. It just discredits you and makes it look like you're typing this on your phone, which you very well might be. But you want to try and avoid that impression. So you might say, I'm really confused about our CPR unit or our lesson, period. Would you be available to help me this week? And then make sure you put your name on this. Okay? So let's move on. That's the body of the email. So something I've been mentioning throughout this video lesson is this idea of casual and formal. And that's where this comes in, using tone in your email. So we want to make sure that your tone supports the message that you're trying to send. What's tone? You might have heard this word before in literary analysis, but we're using it in a slightly different way here, even though it refers to kind of the same thing. So it's the way that your email sounds. Somebody's tone of voice could make the same saying sound very different. For example, if someone says, "I'm really proud of you," then they sound happy. They might be genuinely proud of you. Someone could be like, "Oh, I'm really proud of you." They're being a little sarcastic, right? So it's the same words, but tone is that intonation, that way that your email sounds. We're going to be focusing on two tones within email. We're going to be focusing on formal tone and casual tone. So setting the tone, formal versus casual. So your audience is the first thing you're going to consider. If it's a formal audience, you're looking mainly when you're sending it to business and work colleagues, admin, bosses, people you're applying to jobs with, anybody you're really trying to impress with that little bit of extra formality. Casual would be people like family, friends, familiar coworkers. Tone is very much decided, for the most part, by who you're emailing. Your greeting, when you're being more formal, might be something like "Dear Mr. Jones" or "Warm regards." Casual might be something more like "Hey, John, cheers." It's just a little bit more, informal. So your word choice when you're using more of a formal tone is going to be something along the lines of "Thank you for your time and consideration." It's very full sentences. There's not any sort of abbreviations or kind of casual language. Casual would be more like "Thanks, I'm really looking forward to it." You might throw an emoji in there. It's a little bit more kind of like similar to the way you would text somebody. Use of contractions. Contractions are one of those weird things that just kind of don't go into formal writing. I always think of it as we're not a labor and delivery ward when we're doing formal writing, so we don't want any contractions. So for example, the example provided here, a formal way to say something would be, "I will be able to attend the conference this year. I am looking forward to meeting with you again." More casual, so maybe somebody that you've known for a really long time or somebody who's a friend, you say, "I'll be there, can't wait to see you." Sometimes tone can change depending on the actual subject of the email. For example, if I'm emailing our principal and it's about something that is just kind of, we're setting up tickets for her to come see the drama production, I might be like, "Great, see you there," smiley face. But if I'm emailing her about setting up a time to review our curriculum proposal, I might say something like, "Dear Ms. Helms, I'm hoping we could have some time to review our curriculum proposal. Looking forward to meeting with you. Thanks so much, Sabrina Cream." So depending sometimes on the subject of the email, you might change the tone of your email. Okay, so kind of a quick guide for you. Formal tone whenever you're emailing school administrators, employers and internship providers, teachers, and then sometimes for our projects, we might be interviewing experts in the field and you'll be sending them emails. So in that case, you would want to send a formal tone email. You can use an informal, casual tone when you're emailing your friends, your family, people you know well, or your peers. So time to play which tone. I'm going to give you a scenario. You tell me if it's formal or casual. Okay, formal or casual. The recipient is your parent or guardian, and you're just emailing them to let them know how you're doing doing in school. Go ahead and put your answer in now. Is it formal or casual tone? Okay. Hopefully you picked casual. It's your parent or guardian. They know you very well. And you can just kind of give them a quick update without having to put too much formality on it. You can make that very casual. "Hey, mom. Hey, auntie. Hey, so-and-so. I'm all up to date on my schoolwork. I'm not missing anything. See you at home later." Big old heart because you love your parents and guardians. Okay, formal or casual. You're sending an email to Miss Helms, our school principal, and you're looking to request an interview about how schools manage health issues for a project. Are you going to send this with a formal tone or a casual tone? Go ahead and put that answer in now. Okay, hopefully you picked formal. You are sending this to somebody who is in charge of a lot of things. There's somebody you're trying to impress. So you're going to use a more formal tone when emailing Ms. Helms. Okay, formal or casual. You are sending an email to one of your peers and you're talking about working on a project together. Is it going to be formal or casual tone? Go ahead and put that answer in now. Okay, hopefully you picked casual for this one. When you're working amongst your colleagues, you can just say, hey, so-and-so, hoping we can work this weekend on the video project. Let me know when you're available. Smiley face. It's just you're just kind of collaborating. It's somebody that you're kind of on like an equal footing with that you can send a more casual email to. Okay, formal or casual, you are sending it to your junior year internship advisor. So if you didn't know, in your junior year, you only are at school a few days a week and you go to your internship the other days. So you'll have an advisor, which is basically like a boss. You're letting them know that you are available for the additional project they asked you to help with. Is this going to be a more formal email or a more casual email? Go ahead and put your answer in now. Okay, hopefully you picked formal, because this is somebody, again, that you're trying to impress, somebody that you are working with in a professional capacity. So definitely a formal tone on this one. Okay, so that's it for tone. You guys probably have a pretty good handle on that by now. Let's go ahead and talk about email best practices. These are just some things to keep in mind to help you represent your best scholarly self when using email communication. So, number one, stay on topic. Email is a super quick mode of communication. Keep it focused. Two, check your tone. Too formal is way better than too casual. Three, revise. Make sure you proofread before sending. A good way to check that is to not put this the recipient's email address into the to line until you've gone through and made sure that email is perfect so you can't accidentally send it to them. Number four, read your email aloud. Read it aloud so that before sending, to make sure it sends your intended message. You might read it aloud and find some errors, or you might find that maybe something's coming off a little bit more aggressive or a little bit more casual than you intended. Five, check attachments. If you are sending an attachment, make sure it's the correct one. And finally, and this is a really important one, email's forever. Do not put anything in email that you would not want forwarded around. It is very, very, very easy to forward email. So you don't want to put anything in there that you don't want directly tied to you. Your name is right at the top of that email. So just keep in mind that it is a permanent thing that you are sending out into the world. So just be cautious and be mindful about that. And just remember, you always want to represent your best scholarly self in all that you do, and that includes email. Okay, scholars, so that concludes our video lesson for this week. I cannot wait to see you next week. And if you have any questions or any thing that you need clarified, just go ahead and send me an email because you know how to do that now. I'll see you all next week. Bye.